we need to check our oil once a month. I'm sorry to say I'm not as good at that as I should be, and I'm getting the look, but it's okay. I know. I'm joking. And so actually I haven't checked it recently, and I'm at 20% oil life because my vehicle has an oil life monitor. So it tells me how much oil life we've got. And I'm getting ready for an oil change. So now's a great time to check the oil level.
Part of the idea of checking it once a month is that all engines burn a little bit of oil. Mm-hmm. And so you can lose a little bit of oil over time, even if it's not leaking. And even if it is leaking, you won't see drops on the ground right away because that leaked fluid will cling to the engine surfaces and it will hit the ground right away.
Okay.
And we routinely see vehicles come in where the oil level is low. And checking it once a month, the hope is that you don't normally have to add any. But you know at that point that it's where it should be, and if it's not there, you know, top it up. And if you always see that the level's correct, and then that one time comes that it's low, then you know it's starting to leak it worse or burn it worse, and you can bring it up to your mechanic. And hopefully you've caught it before there's been a chance for any severe damage to be done. Starving an engine for oil can do a lot of damage very quickly.
It's really important to check your oil once a month because oil will burn over time, but also if the level is especially different than it should be, then there's a possibility that there's a problem, and we want to catch that as soon as possible.
To check the level, engine off, and then before anything else, well, you'll want to find your dipstick. Usually they're easy to find. Every now and then they'll be recessed. They can be different colors on the tips. If the engine was running recently, stuff will be hot, so be mindful of what you're touching. And then the engine's just been running, which means oil will have splashed up higher than its actual level on the stick. So before you do anything else, wipe it down. Okay, back in, back out. All right, and we are right where we want to be. Lower mark here, high mark here, and then we like to see it around midway, maybe up toward the top. This is down a little bit under midway, so getting to a point where topping it up just a bit would be a good idea, but still certainly in a safe range. There's absolutely no risk of losing oil pressure anywhere between these two marks.
Okay. And how much oil should someone put in if it's a little bit low?
It's usually going to be, if it's close to the marks, it's usually going to be around a quarter quart to a half quart. Once in a long while, the dipstick will tell you, but not usually. Okay. So my thought there would be, it's always easy to add a little bit more. Not so easy to get it back out if you go too far. Oh, and I say this with a little bit of caution because this isn't usually an issue, but once in a while, maybe especially someone who's very unfamiliar with cars or very unfamiliar with cars and maybe they didn't sleep real well, they're super stressed, whatever the case may be, they pull the dipstick, the level's low, they go to add oil, and they pull the wrong cap. Okay? People have added oil here. Okay, and it winds up in the brake system and does a tremendous amount of damage in the brake system if you do that. There's a coolant reservoir down here. We don't want oil mixing with the coolant. So all I'm trying to say here is this is actually a thing that happens. And you want to be sure that you're pulling the oil fill cap off and you're putting oil in there. And usually, there are exceptions to this again, but usually you're going to have, say, a 5W20, it could be 5W30, it could be 0W20, but usually you're going to have that oil viscosity mark on the cap that helps you to be sure that you are, that'll help you to be sure you're adding in the right place.
And one thing I want to add too is, okay, so this is a Honda Fit. It's a pretty common vehicle to see on the road. So this is going to look different than, say, a Honda Civic or, you know, whatever, a minivan, you know, let's say it's a Chrysler Town and Country. I mean, everyone is a little different, but there are some things that are similar, like he said.
And the owner's manual will have pictures. There's probably a page in there where if you're adding oil, it says, add it here. And I want to emphasize there is no shame in looking that info up. That is why these things are written. And when you're only popping the hood once in a long while, doing something that's unfamiliar, you know, it's the only shame is in not asking a question, you know. So again, just want to say that it's not very common, but every now and then people actually do put oil in the wrong place, and that can get really expensive if that happens.
I made the mistake once. I did not turn my car off before I checked the oil. I was a little bit embarrassed because Andrew was watching me. But yeah, turn your car off. Sometimes we're just not thinking, but it definitely needs to be off.
Some cars will get sprayed if you pull a cap.
Oh, yeah.
Not the dipstick, but the cap, if you pull it off, you'll get sprayed.
Exactly. You don't want to pull off a cap and have something shoot out at you. That would not be fun.
Real life detail here. I mean, we'll see how tight this is. These caps in my hands are pretty strong. Nothing special about me. It just falls out of what I do for work every day. All right, I was able to get that one, but I'll show you all a trick. Let's say you're going to pull the cap. Can you say hi?
Hi.
You have a truck?
What do you have there?
A truck.
Oh, cool.
Is that a great green truck you have?
No, it's a really yellow one.
That's right. Watch out for Daddy. Okay. So let's say that you go to pull the cap, and again, even I occasionally won't be able to break them loose by hand. They heat cycle and they season there sometimes. A really easy trick is just a small pair of pliers. Honda kind of buries these. Small pair of pliers can make this a whole lot easier, okay? Because you get all that extra leverage. You're taking this length and turning it into this length. And there's no point straining your hand over it. All right, so we were just a tad lower than where we wanted to be, so we're going to go a quarter quart. This one's been open before, so we're at half right now.
And I want to mention, you can see he's using Toyota oil on the Honda. The Toyota 0W20 and the Honda 0W20 are the same thing. Not all oil is the same, and the labeling doesn't always tell you what you need to know. So I'm just gonna, in a nutshell, talk to your mechanic about oil, and especially Andrew because he's particularly knowledgeable. You can see we've got, so he just put the cap back on. You can see we've got specific Toyota oil, we've got Honda oil, we've got this Dexus.
Yeah, Dexos rating is the main thing there.
The Dexus Generation 2, and then we've got this Motorcraft. That's generally what we put in. We also have this specialty Pennzoil Platinum.
That's for GDI
Yeah,
engines.
so that's
Its own conversation.
yeah, exactly. It's basically a lot of the, or some of the newer vehicles are now needing that kind of oil. So we try to put in something that's going to be the best benefit to your vehicle.
I could poke you with this. Did that work really well? Where are you going?
So he's just added oil, replaced the cap.
And now we're right up at halfway. We could go another quarter quart and it'll bring it up closer to 3/4 or a full, all the way up past the hash marks.
Yep.
An interesting thing about this too, back to that idea of checking the level once a month, sometimes the oil consumption rate rapidly increases as the oil nears the end of its lifespan. And this is an issue on modern cars that some of them are running a good 8,000 miles or so in between oil changes now. Now that's if the manufacturer specifies that, if the driving conditions support it. But even if the car is only losing quarter of a quart every 1,000 miles, you can burn through 4 quarts of oil in 8,000 miles, and that'll run some engines dry. So It's cool that you can run longer in between oil changes now. That's a part of modern technology, that's engine technology that's neat. But as counterintuitive as it might sound, it does come with that need to check the level occasionally and top it off sometimes. And that extra half quart or so that you end up adding occasionally can actually go a long way toward helping to restore the performance of the additive package in the oil. Even just a half quart can go a long way there in a 4-quart system.